Hi, thanks for tuning in to learn something new. I'm Mike Laven with the Laven team, and I'm a local realtor here in Vermont. In each one of these segments, in 5 minutes or less, I'm going to try to teach you about a topic that's relevant to today's real estate market. And remember that I'm going to discuss these topics as they relate to real estate here in Vermont, so it might work differently if you were in another market. On that topic, if you need help with anything in the state of Vermont as far as real estate or you have questions about your property, feel free to contact me at the number on the screen, or you can always email me at mike@thelaventeam.com. And if you're watching this video out of state and you have questions about real estate or need help with something, also contact me as well using the same information, because we have a great network of agents and we can probably find someone throughout the country who can help you, who's local and qualified and experienced. So whether you're a first-time buyer or seller, a seasoned investor, or even another real estate professional, hopefully today I can provide you with some useful insight and you can learn something new. Feel free to use the comments below to ask questions for future episodes, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. So let's get started. Today's topic is an escalation clause. We're going to talk about why and when a buyer might use one, when a buyer might want to avoid using one. And if you're a seller, you might see a lot of these come across the table too when you see a lot of offers that have them. So it's good to know what they are and how they work so that you can make the best decision when the time comes. An escalation clause is fairly simple. It's contractual language that's added to a purchase and sale agreement by a buyer when they're submitting the offer to the seller. And it does exactly what it says. It escalates the price. The clause essentially says that the buyer is willing to automatically raise their purchase price to beat out the best competing offer to a higher price, as long as that price doesn't go above the limit or the cap that has been set. This might sound like a lot, but the situation where you're likely to see this is in a multi-offer situation. This is when the seller usually has set a deadline and they want all the offers by the deadline. They're not planning to negotiate or counter. They're going to look at all those offers, pick the best one, and accept it. And if you're looking at this situation as a buyer, you need to submit your best and final offer, because this is conceivably the only chance you have. And this is where the escalation clause comes into play. A buyer doesn't want to miss out on the property, but they don't want to come in too high to start. So let's use an example. If there's a property listed at $500,000 and the buyer is willing to come in at the asking price, but they actually are willing to go up as high as $530,000, they would place their offer at $500,000 with an escalation clause added to the offer that says they're willing to raise their price to go $5,000 above any other competing offer, as long as it doesn't go above $530,000. That's their limit. Does that make sense? Let's take a look at some actual contractual language. Buyer shall increase purchase price by $5,000 over any other bona fide written offer received by seller, not to exceed $530,000. Seller shall provide buyer with a copy of the written offer which triggered this clause, with competing buyer's personal information redacted. That last part is important because it's actual proof that the other offer even exists. And remember, this is just some example language. If you're planning to use an escalation clause in your offer, talk to your attorney to make sure that the language you're going to use is sufficient for your needs. Now let's take this and put this into play with the example we just had. The property is listed at $500,000. The buyer is going to come in at $500,000 with an escalation clause that brings it up to $530,000. And in this situation, if that seller had a competing offer for $520,000, this escalation clause would be triggered and this buyer's offer would automatically increase to $525,000. I hope that makes sense. Now, a buyer would not want to use this in every situation. If you're a buyer and you get the sense that it's a more traditional situation, I should say, where the seller's probably going to counter and you're going to have a back and forth and negotiation until you come to an agreement on price, it wouldn't make sense to use an escalation clause. You would be revealing to the seller that you're willing to go higher on price. And generally, that would not be a good strategy in a traditional back and forth situation. But we see it a lot more in today's market because we're seeing a lot of multi-offer situations. And that's where this escalation clause has really become a commonplace thing. And that's why it's good for us to discuss it today and learn about it. Well, anyways, I hope you were able to learn something new today. Again, you can always contact me using the number at the screen if you have questions about anything, or email me at mike@thelaventeam.com. Feel free to use the comments below to ask questions for future episodes, and make sure to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for tuning in.